and welcome back to the Digi India Squad web series. This is the M&M Girls. This is Mansi and Monica. Hi, Monica.
Hey, hi, Mansi. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? Good, 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 good. How's it going with you?
Yeah, all good too. Busy, busy.
Nice. Yes, very. Okay, so the last episodes we've had some very good responses. We talked about voice and the voice search, and pretty much people were impressed on what is coming. And trust me, the brands and all the businesses that we're talking about are gearing up, and we are hoping that you are too. With that, we start off today's episode, and it's a thrilling one because that's something that is very close to my heart. It's all about strategy, digital marketing strategy. So let's start off with today. What does strategy mean? Let's start with that. Monica, I want you to pitch in here, okay? What do you mean by strategy?
So, very simply, a strategy is just a way to understand why you are doing what you are doing and what you want to achieve at the end of it. That's like really simply put. Of course, business schools would have a very nice definition for this. But for me, this definition just works because what we see is that many businesses, just get started on activities, not just marketing activities, but even sometimes not even having a very clear business strategy. Doing a SWOT analysis and making sure that they have all the different areas covered. And when we interact, so when I say we, I am talking about, Mansi and myself as consultants, because we've had these discussions so many times. And we very often saw this overlap in our conversations where we just, felt that many people start doing what they're doing. And then in the middle of it, they're just like floundering, are trying to understand. Um, okay, now I can't do two things at a time. I have to wait. This is gallery view. This is correct? This is right, no? You're mute.
I can't see what's happening on your system.
So you don't have to see what's happening on my system.
Right, but if you're asking me, is this right? I don't know what you see.
No, I mean, are you seeing two speakers at a time?
I've been seeing that from very beginning because I have moved to the grid view, but the recording has to be in the speaker view.
Ah, okay. So now I'm seeing two people. So that's good, no? That's how it's supposed to be.
No, 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 no.
Then?
It has to be a single window of just the person who's speaking.
For a single window then.
I'm seeing two of it. So yeah, go ahead. As long as there is only one person, that's good enough. Are you able to just see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
That's it, right? Not the two people.
And then at the top, there are two people.
Okay, this is good enough. Let's go.
Yeah. What was I saying now? You remind me.
When you're talking about businesses, people are not, I mean, without doing the SWOT analysis.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so when Mansi and I were having these conversations, we often, came to the same point that many businesses are just starting off, on a marketing plan and just jumping into it and getting started because competitors are doing it or because they know that it is a trend and therefore they should do it. But without a very clear idea of why they want to do it and what they want to actually achieve at the end of it. And as consultants for businesses who tend to do that, it also becomes a very challenging situation because uh, you don't know what to measure, right? So at the end of your marketing campaign and you're spending something on a consultant or you have an in-house team or whatever the case may be, at the end of it, you want to evaluate the result and you want to see what is the impact. But how you measure then can be something very different from what you actually laid out as a plan for the marketing team. For example, you could say something like, we want to increase the visibility of the organization because we're a startup. And at the end of 3 months, you say, but we've not got much sales out of you. So, the way the team would be working would be to, improve the reach and, get more visibility. And that is what they're focusing on. The kind of messaging they're doing is based on that objective. and now you are measuring them on a very different kind of key performance indicator, and that becomes very difficult to manage. And as a business itself, even for you, you will not really get that kind of impact that you're looking for. So it's very important to have clarity on why you are doing what you're doing, where you want to go, how you're going to measure it, and you see yourself growing and the marketing growing and taking you to a certain place over time.
Perfect. Um, so if you were to ask me what is strategy, I want to say that, the moment you start thinking, that's the strategy. If you're not thinking, that's when the problem arises. So the moment you think, you're arriving at a strategy. The more you think and the more you make it foolproof, it becomes a good strategy. So you just need to think. That's my opinion, because if you don't think, you're going to risk being random. Okay, and random is chaos. Of course, remember, sometimes there is order in chaos as well, but then if you're not thinking, there is no strategy, and then there's bound to be chaos. So also remember this: once you do things, things cannot be undone. It's the digital world. It's You've got your digital footprint everywhere. It just doesn't go away just like that, right? So with digital marketing, you really need to be careful. You really need to think what you're doing, because things cannot be undone. So with that as the definition of strategy, let's move to what exactly is a marketing strategy and why is it so important. So Monica and myself are going to discuss a couple of scenarios on what happens if we don't have a marketing strategy or anything that's going to be documented. Okay, so here are some scenarios. Okay, so when we start working, we've got the founding members of the company, and we go and tell them, we're talking to them, and we say, what is it that you want to achieve with digital marketing? If there are 4 founders, we have 5 objectives. It's like that. So it's very difficult if you don't document and if you don't put things in place. You need to have one single objective and move towards that. There are times when I've spoken to founders and they're like, okay, this is the product we have. And the other founder is like, this is the service we are offering. I'm like, are you a product company or a service company? Of course, there's software as SaaS. I mean, a software as a service, but you need to come to that consensus. Now, if you're going to document things, there's a process to it. This will help get everybody on the same page. So that's something that we really need to do. Okay, and then there are times when we work with startups and they're like, yo, we got this idea, let's do this, let's do that, we need a social media consultant, and they get us on board. But then they as you proceed, they start losing that steam in them. Okay, so that's also because you're so random and you're working on everything everywhere. Documenting it will help us actually arrive at a good strategy because you're so focused. Monica, do you want to share your experiences?
Yeah, so as you said, this has been the case many times. And I mean, it's surprising sometimes. Like, for example, you get started, you're told that this is what we want to achieve, and then you get started, and then you're waiting for some, some raw content to come in so that you can be supported in what they want to achieve, and that's not there. And then when you get into that, it's like, oh, we don't have the resources, and then you keep waiting, and then a lot of time is lost in just getting things together. See, when you bring marketing on board, you have to be at a certain position. Okay, so at a certain place where you were ready with something to take to the world, and the marketing team can help you do that. It can be, and also the marketing team has to be involved, right? If you do intend to use the marketing team in a strong way, you're serious about it, you need to involve them right from the beginning, so that their perspective, because they are also the voice of the customer, they are the ones who've done the research, they have a very clear understanding of the demand of your product or a service in the market. They know what the competition is like. That is what their job is. They have done that kind of homework. Many times I have worked on projects where I have brought out so much competitive research, where they have been in the business for 8 months, 10 months, and still they were not able to get to know that there is this competitor who's um, actually got a service which is exactly the same as ours. So this can happen, and it's not like they've not tried to do their homework. It's not that, but because the founding members, that initial team, has so many responsibilities that their time and focus is very split, right? So it's very important that you have, as Mansi said, the documentation part is so elemental to the whole process. Because I'll tell you, it's surprising, if you just have verbal conversations, it is so easy to forget why you are doing something. And even if you bring it up in a discussion and say, okay, no, but in the first meeting this is what we had decided, and it just seems like an excuse for explaining away something that didn't happen. And that's a very, very bad position to be in. So it's extremely important that documentation of everything that is discussed, it's put into a common document which has the marketing strategy, which has the plan that you have decided, which has your goals set, your the way you are going to measure it. That is very, very important. Um, One of, as I said, not forgetting why you are doing something, then to coordinate everybody's efforts towards a goal. Everybody who is working in that team should know what the goal is, so that they don't say yes to the next shiny object, just because it's there and, oh, this is trending, let's jump on it. Why do you need to jump on it? Is it going to serve your objective? Is it going to take you where you want to go? That's the first thing that should come to your mind, right? So we have so many marketing channels. You have email marketing, you have mobile marketing, you have SEO. You have to first know what you want to achieve and how much time, and then the marketer can, with their expertise, can come and tell you, okay, if this is what you want and this is the time period within which you want to achieve it, then let's go with this. That's the expertise that they will bring in. Having that documented plan also brings a process and discipline into the whole thing, which is very important, because without that you really cannot achieve your goals, because you are going to get distracted, something else will take priority. And this is very common in a startup kind of environment or the small business environment, where the the focus is entirely on making the sales. But while that is of course a very, very you understand that as a priority, but if you have also defined something else, that should not lose steam. It should not be at the cost of sacrificing something which you have already identified as very important. See, it's that I don't remember. I don't know, Mansi, what if there is that square which we make, right, with important, urgent. I don't remember what that is called, but that is such a important aspect that you should include in your plan. There will be some things which are urgent, but there are some things which are very important, and you have to consistently keep working towards them. Yeah, Mansi.
Hey, sorry. Sorry, I was on mute. So yes, I mean, I think to sum that up, what Monica is trying to say is your things like, lack of budgets and resources suddenly coming up will not happen if we document it. Okay. And then the lack of vision, not thinking long term, is a
Yeah.
big problem that startups have, especially if you're bootstrapped, because you're constantly thinking of how to take this forward. See, I'll put it this way. Okay. People start companies because they're passionate about something. Okay. And when they actually start doing things, they realize that apart from what they're passionate about, they're doing everything else, like administration work, like marketing work, like talking to people. And that's when you lose focus, and that's when you lose track. And that's why, if you can document it, at least the people you hire will be able to take that forward. So that lack of vision and not thinking long term will not happen if you get things documented as soon as you start. Okay. And also, as Monica mentioned, yeah, I know we are all here for business and we are all here for sales, but that's not going to happen. If you want sales overnight, you're not selling rice, are you? So that's not an essential commodity that you're actually selling. So if your product and service, and if your name needs to be out in the market, you need to give it some time. You can't just go up to some person and say, hey, I have this product, take it. They will never buy it. So similarly, you need to wait. You need to build that trust and credibility. Brands today are what they are because they waited, and they did nothing wrong when they were waiting. Patience and perseverance. And that can only happen if we document things. So that is the strategy that we need to look into. Okay. And definitely, as Monica mentioned, lack of research. Oh, good Lord. Really, oh, good Lord for that. When I ask, so people come and say, hey, we want to do digital marketing and you're a consultant. I said, yes. So they are like, okay, let's start from tomorrow. I'm like, okay, so please pass on your business strategy through which the marketing strategy is derived. And I will look into coming up with a digital marketing strategy for that. They're like, what? So nothing is documented, not even the business strategy. Forget the marketing strategy, even the business strategy is not documented. And that's when I tell the client, sorry, I am not willing to work. Because if we don't have focus, as Monica rightly mentioned, we just don't know where we're going. And if we don't know where we're going, we don't know where we want to go. So considering that, I think it's very important that we document things from the very beginning. This will help us come to an agreement on what are we selling, what is our product, what is our service, what are the markets we need to get into, who is the audience we need to target, who is doing what. You need to also look at responsibilities, right? Resources. You only have 3 or 4 people when you start. So who's going to take what responsibility and who's accountable for what, right? So that's something that will help if we start documenting. See, when we start, I mean, I've seen all the startups. When you start, the founders, everybody is a boss. So question is, who's doing the work? Right? I think that's the attitude which everybody has, and that gets us into a soup. Monica, comment on this. I'm sure you've got plenty of experience on this.
Yeah, actually, that happens fairly often. And, because whenever I have those initial discussions, I'll ask, okay, who is going to be my primary contact? Because you are not going to get in touch with 3 people to get information, and then when the time comes when you need the information, then it starts, okay, but I haven't got it from so and so, why don't you connect with that person directly? And then you get in touch with that, and they say, oh, I don't know that I was supposed to do this. Then, and I mean, it just feels like it's a shame, honestly, because if you are diligent about your work and you really see, the reason I am in marketing is because I really want to help businesses take their product and services to the right audience. Because if there is an audience out there which really needs what you are offering, then as the marketer, I feel that it is my responsibility to get you there, so that both sides are happy. That is the reason you're doing it. And then when you get into all this kind of shuffling of responsibilities, and then you just feel that perhaps they don't really are at the stage where they can appreciate the role of marketing. And I'll tell you this, I have seen this even with organizations I have worked who have an in-house marketing team, and I have seen that drop in motivation in them from the time I may have started, and then over the course of a year, at the end of it, they become so they don't have that level of participation that they had, that those ideas that used to always come during meetings, and now they're like, no, we'll just do this, or no, he will not agree, so let's just do this. They get into that mode of just doing what they know is going to be acceptable, because the boss is going to ultimately decide what the marketing team has to do. And while I respect that, when you are working with very young and inexperienced people, that you may have to keep an eye on that. But when you are hiring an experienced professional, then it makes sense for you to kind of also give their perspectives enough weightage. If you don't feel that you can give that kind of authority to the professional you've hired, then you might as well do the marketing yourself. You don't really need somebody else. It's like also wasting the other person's time. And these kind of things can just be avoided completely if a documented plan is ready. You already have it chalked out. You know what you want to do. This is how we are going to do it. So once the marketing person comes in, he or she has a very clear idea. Okay, this is where the organization needs to go. This is how they want to execute it. And if you don't have an execution plan, the marketer will create the execution plan. But he will involve you in everything. He'll ask you that, okay, if we want to use this platform, do we have the necessary resources to do it? Can you provide me with this type of content? Do you have the necessary skills in-house to give me everything at a specific at the frequency that it is required? And that itself is such a great activity for you to really assess whether you're ready to do a certain thing, and to sometimes, reduce that extremely ambitious plan to a realistic plan, and a realistic plan which will actually get executed well and it will get you results, rather than just, trying to it's like, a spider fallen on its back and it's got all its legs waving. It seems like that. It's like, don't be in that situation where you're trying to just get anywhere and you're getting nowhere. Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a bit of things that Monica said. So let's put it this way. If you do not have a strategy that is documented and it is focused, then trust us, it's a waste of time. Okay. And also, this is for all the people who are heading businesses. If you want to handhold your marketing person, hire a fresher. They are happy to learn from you. But if you want somebody to be on their own, hire the best and get rid of it from your table because they will take care of it. So if you want to handhold, don't hire the best because they will use their brains and that's what they're here for. You hired them because their brains are amazing. You want to be amazing. So allow them to be. So with that, I think I've got a small little slide here, which I would like to show. Monica, could you please make me the host so that I can just share the screen? Perfect. So there's something called the NAMDUS methodology or the online presence lifecycle management. Okay, this is what most of us follow as digital marketers. I mean, we might not know the name of the methodology, but this is exactly what we follow. So there are three phases which we generally follow. Okay, the first is the preparation phase. Okay, if you want to come up with a strategy, you really need to prepare for it. So what does this preparation phase have? Goals. Okay, and your goals has to be smart. So when I say smart, they're like, okay, we're going to make it like really, really smart. So it's not about being smart. Smart stands for specific. S. M is for measurable. A is for achievable or attainable. R is for relevant, and T is time bound. So come up with smart objectives, which means that if you come up with smart objectives, everything is so much in place that there is no way you can deviate from your plan. There's no way, as in, you know exactly what to do and when to do it. So that's your goals. That's your goal setting. Okay. Next, research. As Monica mentioned, good Lord, please do the research right. Okay. When we say research, two kinds of research, primary and secondary research. Collect the data. Primary research is the data that you collect, which means the surveys that you do. You go talk to people and you start documenting it. Everything that is first hand is your primary data. Secondary data is your industry data. Okay, basically everything that you have from probably a Nielsen research or the IAMI reports, any of these, because data is gathered by them and they are giving you insights into it. But remember to do the research. Competition research is another thing that Monica has already mentioned. So that is also very important. Okay. The next one is the audience. I have seen so many businesses go down the drain because they always targeted the wrong people. Okay. If you have to pitch your product to the head of administration, do it. You can't get to the CEO for that. You can't have, if you're selling a machine that dispenses paper towels, you should go to speak to the head of administration and not the CEO, however small the company is. If they have the head of admin, you should speak to them, right? So please look at mapping the audience, right? This is called as persona mapping, where we are going to look at mapping the demographics, which is your age, gender, the geography that they come from, and also the psychographics, which is mostly to do with the interests and how they behave, the behavior and the interests. So if you can map this right, nothing like it. Okay, that is your preparation phase. If you are prepared with these things, then you can arrive at the implementation phase, which is what we are looking at right now, which is the strategy. Okay, strategy and plan and execution. Most of the times, strategy and plan execution, when you start afresh, they might not overlap. If you can look at this Venn diagram, okay, it's going to be slow. Okay, because what you think of as a strategy, if you start implementing slowly, you will find that there are glitches. Okay, so that's why we test the waters first. Okay, and then you actually implement the whole thing. So strategy, plan, and execution comes in the second phase, which is the implementation phase. Okay, now most digital marketers do exactly this for you. Okay, I mean, hopefully, it's not like they just came out with a strategy and a plan based on their whims and fancies or based on what you told them. I'm hoping that that strategy is backed by the goals, by the research and audience and persona mapping. Okay. But this is not what a digital marketer does. Okay. A digital marketer is supposed to complete this cycle by doing this: evaluate. The question is, have we reached our goals? So you need to give that data and tell, yes, this is where we are. So you have to evaluate. Okay. And I'm telling you, this is what a digital marketer does, or a social media specialist does, or a good consultant does. Okay. But this is basics. What we need to move on is, if you are good at it, you will actually do this, which means that you will come back with those analytics, come back with those meaningful insights with ready reckoner information, and go back and see if it aligns to your goals. Go back and see if your research is right and we are going the right way. Because if your data says something else, then you'll have to look into it, right? You'll have to see if it works for you or not. Okay. This is what a better digital marketer would do. The best digital marketer would actually go back and re-strategize if required, or replan if required, because your data is going to give you the kind of insights that you need. So if you're not measuring, trust me, that would really not help. Just pushing out posts on your social media or publishing blogs on your website will definitely not help. This is how your strategy and plan document needs to look like. This is what you need to have on your strategy and plan document if you really want to look into things. Okay. So this is the documented part of it. Also, I think if you're actually wanting to make it foolproof, you will also have to look at the contingency plans. Okay, that's your plan B. Sorry, you'll have to look at crisis communication plans. Okay, uh, which means that you have to take all the environments into consideration before you can come up with your strategy. So Monica, do you want to go ahead and talk about this?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
No, we were talking about how we need to have contingency plans in place, which needs to be well documented. And this needs to take into consideration all the environment the business is in at that moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to go ahead and talk about it?
Yeah. So when we talk about a contingency plan, it's the possible risks, that you could encounter, which would kind of derail your plan. So what are the things that can actually happen? So these can be internal factors, these can be external factors. Internal factors could be that, for example, if you are on the marketing team and you have come up with a great plan for the year, and then the director of marketing changes, and he has a different view. So those are the kind of internal risks, right? For example, attrition. People, a very key person may leave. Somebody who is supporting your organization in the graphics and the image creation, a very key person when it comes to social media marketing, that person leaves. So these are different kind of elements that you should consider. And these are usually considered by the marketing heads because they have that experience of having worked with on a number of projects, and they know that, okay, these are regular things that can happen, and what can we do to kind of mitigate them. External factors could be, a change in the political scenario, a change in regulation. So I'll just give an example. So there is a recent change in the FCRA regulation for non-profits, where they are unable to access the foreign agency funds, and many of the small NGOs who were actually getting support from these foreign funding agencies are in a bad way because their programs are really suffering and they're struggling. So this is an external risk, and very little can be done to mitigate these kind of risks, because even if you let's say you have a kind of union or some association through which you can raise the issue, it's not going to bring about a change very quickly. So when we create, so that is why we do a SWOT analysis. Okay. So let me just share my screen, and maybe I can just show you an example. Okay, I have got too many things open. Right. Let me just. So I've not actually created a slide because I just saw this very beautiful example here on the WordStream blog itself. So if you see here, you have no, never mind the size of your organization. And even if I would say that if you have come into the organization and it's a small size organization where maybe the top guys have not done this, and it happens. It happens, believe me. You can be the one who takes this up. Now, the thing is, it's very important to do this very honestly. And because you really have to be upfront about your weaknesses. Your strengths are fine, right? It's very easy to talk about the strengths, but your weaknesses, that is where you have to be very, very honest so that you can recognize the limits within which you need to work to get something to happen. And that is important because if you become over ambitious, then you will build a plan. So I'm going to share, in our execution plan, we have a post today, and actually you have nothing happening and you don't have the resources to support the marketing team by sharing that kind of content with them. It's ridiculous to create a plan like that, right? So it's a good idea to go through this, so in your strengths you have things that your company does well, and the qualities that make you stand out from your competitors, so all your differentiating factors. Then your internal resources, what are the skills you have, what talent you have, how many people you have on your team, do you have well defined roles, responsibilities, right? And also your tangible assets such as your intellectual property, capital, blah blah. So this is at the business level. Maybe the marketing guy may not get into this as much, but just to give you an idea. Then you have your weaknesses. So these are the things your company lacks. So actually saying that we don't have a graphics person, we don't have anybody to support us with images, so perhaps it's not a good idea to target Instagram at this point for this particular thing, right? So depending on, because the marketer knows what platform needs to be used in what way. So they will tell you, okay, for this to run well on this platform, this is what we require, right? Sometimes teams don't even have a content writer, and they are saying that we want to do content marketing. Without a content writer, how can you do content marketing? Even if you bring in a consultant, that consultant is not going to sit and actually type the blogs for you, right? So you need to think that, okay, we don't have a content writer, so there's no point saying at this point that we want to go the content marketing way. You will have to do something else, right? So also your resource limitations and uh, unclear unique selling proposition. This is another thing where you're selling it, but you're not very clear about it. I remember once so I had a client and they were selling something to schools, and I asked them that, what is your USP? You tell me. He just said, price. So I said, no, price is fine. I mean, okay, but then there will be another guy tomorrow who will undercut your price also. But beyond price, what is it you offer to customers that will keep them with you? You're saying, oh, now too, we've just started and we'll see. So that's a very early indicator of, this is not going to go down well. And it didn't go down well, actually. Over a couple of months, they kind of closed shop, and they just continued with one client, with whom they had connected at one point of time. So see, this is what happens because you're not really, completely committed to the plan, and you're not really analyzing it to that level. See, one thing is, with so many businesses starting up today, very young people right after college, they just start up, and sometimes this is my experience. Sometimes the level of commitment you need is a little lacking. So so if you do this, it kind of makes you, it forces you to answer questions, and it also makes you understand that perhaps right now you are not at that level where you can actually do something like this. And then you have your third column is your opportunities, which is the underserved market that you're going to actually serve, right? Um, what are the competitors in your area? So opportunities, you have few competitors, so it's a good time for you to enter the market. It could be an emerging need. right? Not a lot of businesses are offering this as of now. Then you get a lot of press media coverage. So sometimes it happens that you may not be getting a lot of direct inputs, but because of the kind of work you're doing, you get a lot of media coverage. So now I remember seeing this organization, I don't recall the name, an NGO, where they have created very low priced orthotics, and they are giving these orthotics to people for free. And there is a story that I come across often where the founder who was in IIT, and then he left it because he saw that he wasn't learning anything new there, and so he left it and decided to pursue his own education and learn on his own, and he started doing this. And he was sharing this story, and he talked about a lady who, and they attached the prosthetic arm, and she started crying. So they thought maybe it's paining her, it's not fit well, so they were very concerned, and they asked her. So she said, no, it's because I'll be able to comb my daughter's hair. So you have to see that there is a market for this, and there is a perfect way then to, and then when you are able to explore all of this and present it to the marketer that this is where we want to go, this is the audience we are looking at, the marketer also is able to develop a very clear perspective on how he wants to build this, how he wants to take this forward, what elements he wants to bring into the marketing message. And then your fourth column is your threats, which we talked about, right? Your contingency plan is to basically mitigate these kind of threats. Your emerging competitors, changing regulatory environment, negative press, which can happen, or changing consumer attitudes towards your company. So a very clear, a simple example is like with the COVID. Suddenly, so many businesses have just they pretty much crashed because the customer perspective has completely changed. Those services are no longer in demand. They had been in last year till December, and now they are not in demand. So many travel organizations are shutting down. So many hotels are shutting down. Now, let's say you have a business which is selling junk food, amazing, delicious junk food. And suddenly, because of all these things that have come up, you see people have stopped eating as much outside. And when they do eat, they're still looking for healthy options. That's going to really bring a lot of pressure on your business. So, this is where you have to kind of anticipate the threats. And I think anybody who has gone through the COVID era will always include a pandemic kind of situation in their threats now, something which we probably never considered before, but now going forward this is going to become a basic element in the threat column. So yeah, so this is basically how we go about it, and make sure that we have a contingency plan. So I'll share the link to this article because it really helps you also understand how use your strengths to approach your opportunities, and look at your weaknesses and try to ramp up there. So they have defined a very a good process to make use of the SWOT analysis, because you've done the SWOT analysis. What's the next step, right? So you can go through that in this article.
Perfect. So that's quite a bit of documentation, but trust us, if done, it paves way to, I mean, it gives you so much clarity that it just gets you going. You don't have to think too much after this. It's all about implementation after this. And you're so focused that you will get to your goal come what may. Okay. So just talking about risk mitigation. Monica, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I just stopped the
Okay.
presentation, the share.
All right. Okay. So if you're looking at risk mitigation, I want to say just look at also other, I mean, the environments that Monica specifically mentioned. The economic environment, basically, the phase of the businesses, the monetary and financial policies of the government, the foreign trade, as she said, the FCRA rules and regulations. Okay, these are economic policies by the government, which is present both. It also presents an opportunity to you, but let's be aware of it. Okay, for example, the FDI rules changed, and then you had Amazon coming to India, and then you had Walmart by Flipkart. You actually look, I mean, if you're an e-commerce portal, you looked at Flipkart as your competitor, but suddenly you had Walmart actually fund it enough. Okay. And in between, you had Flipkart buying Walmart India business. So there was the juggling thing. So these things can happen. So let's be aware of that. Then there is the social and cultural environment. When we say social and cultural environment, this is something that we really need to take into picture. I think the latest one was the Tanishq ad. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm just going to leave the link to it. Okay. And it was an ad where there were two communities involved. You had a daughter-in-law from a different community, and there were certain rituals that were done at home. And she asks, oh my God, you're doing this ritual for me. And I think you don't even know about these rituals. So it was about two communities. But then unfortunately, I didn't. I don't know what happened, but there was a social media backlash, and Tanishq actually retracted that ad, and they also gave an apology for it. Okay, so this happened, and I'm going to share the link for that. But they had to retract that ad because I think it's something to do with the social and the cultural environment. So let's be aware of the fact that these things are present. Okay, and of course the political and the legal environment. Businesses are closely related to the government. Okay, and then the political philosophy of the government wields a great influence on business politics. So we should be aware of it. Um, let's look at this. Like Trump came and he said he's going to build that wall come what may, right? The wall between US and Mexico. So these are things that will happen. Okay, it's both legal and it's political, right? So you have to, I wouldn't say, see, there are some things that you cannot anticipate. Okay, but then think that, something might go wrong in that. Okay, so let's put it that way. And then the technological environment. Oh my God, technology changes so fast and so quick, and there are so many social media platforms that are coming up big time, and they go away big time as well. So you had Ola come in, you had Zomato come in, and then there was WhatsApp. Everything just came in and changed the scenario like crazy. That's what technology can do. Of course, these are ideas, but then these are tech driven ideas, right? So technology can come and change a lot of things. Today, as a digital marketer, if you don't know WhatsApp marketing, or if you can't get your APIs, integrated on WhatsApp, if you're a big business, and if you're not doing WhatsApp, or let's put it this way, if you're not doing conversational marketing, we are nowhere to be found. Okay, it's a small path, and it's almost a dead end. So that's one part of it. And also the demographic environment. Okay, this includes, the size and the growth of the population, the life expectancy of the people, the rural urban distribution of the population, the technology skills, rather the educational qualifications that they have. See, I was listening to this webinar by it was an exchange for media webinar, and there was Mr. Ankit Prasad, if I'm not wrong. Okay, so there was Mr. Ankit Prasad, who actually is the founder of Bobble.ai. It's BOBBLE.ai, and he mentioned how in rural India the voice technology, okay, it was about 16% on a daily active usage. Okay, this is the rural India part of it. Pandemic hit and they moved from 16% to 23% in like less than 6 months. That 16%, whatever they had, took like years in terms of voice. Okay, and then he vouches saying that the next 300 million addition we have on smartphones is going to come up as native language speakers. This we have already discussed in a couple of webinars before. Monica had given these statistics before, actually. So if you look at this, there is technology and there is this demographics which conveniently shifted, right? So if we're not going to document these things, then we'll not know when the crisis hits us. Those brands which had documented what to do when there's a pandemic, I wouldn't say when there's a pandemic, you have to shut shop tomorrow. Okay, this is a possibility, right? So those who had documented it really well took it really well. They knew exactly what they were doing. See, I'm not saying you should have everything document. Where's the document? Where's the Word document? Where's the Excel document? It's not about that. You need to have clarity. I mean, there is a juice shop near my place. Okay, and when there was a lockdown, he shut down. He really shut down. It's a very small, it's probably a 10 by 10. Okay, but when we came back, okay, when we opened, he knew exactly what to do. He didn't look like other juice shops where there was scarcity of fruits, or he had to hang a board that they were hygienic. He did nothing of that sort. He just ensured that everybody had their gloves, everybody had their mask, everybody had a shield, those who were working there. Okay, and he ensured that his how this his shop was always full. It was full of fruits, fresh fruits. It almost looked like the pandemic did nothing to him. Okay, so the very fact that he was able to get back on his feet is because he had that clarity. He knew that today, if he could survive, tomorrow he will make those profits and get that back. Okay, so he had that clarity. Somebody as a juice shop owner, okay, if he could do it because he had clarity, I think well documenting strategies, if you're looking at bigger businesses, will really, really take us a long way.
Yeah. And I think one thing is that by documenting it, you are always alert of the possibility, because you can become a little complacent over time that, oh, everything is going well. And, then suddenly there's something like this happens, and the chips start falling down. So having it as a documented thing in front of you always makes you a little vigilant. So you start watching for early signals, and the earlier you catch something, then that means you've just bought yourself that extra time to plan how you are actually going to change tax, and ensure the stability of your organization, the employment of your people. So many things can be roll out differently. Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, so what we're basically trying to tell is, let there be clarity, let there be focus. Let's ensure that your goals need to be measured. Otherwise, we'll not know how successful we are or when are we successful. When you put a number to that, we know exactly that, if we reach that, we are successful, right? So we should ensure that we have smart goals, and we have things in place. One big example I want to give is all those brands who had like kept TikTok as the sole platform. And overnight, TikTok was gone. It could be the influencers on TikTok, or it could be the brands who were using TikTok as their primary channel. Okay. If you did not have a documented strategy, if you did not have a contingency plan, you're in a soup. Okay, if anything can happen from a marketing perspective, trust us, anything can happen, because the control that you have on what you're doing is very less, because you are giving everything to your consumer, and how your consumers perceive you is something that's left to them, right? So anything can change. Okay, it's all about the consumers. So I think that is my closing thoughts on this. Monica, do you have something as well?
Well, I think you've done a great job closing this. So yeah, that is it. I think we've thrashed it out completely, and we've reiterated all the important points. So just make sure you have a documented business plan followed by a documented marketing plan.
Fantastic. And if you find it so difficult, all you have to do is come back to us. Okay, so what you can do is, we are available on Digi India Squad, that is DIGIINDIASQUAD @gmail.com. You can write to us if you have any glitches in your business to come up with a marketing strategy, a digital marketing strategy, and we are happy to help on that. With that, we end today's episode. We hope that you have enjoyed it. Comment below and let us know what you think about this episode. Thank you so much for watching. You can get in touch with us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and we are Digi India Squad on all of these. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. And just one more thing, Mansi, today is our 10th episode.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yes,
like,
it's
I
very
was like,
special.
wow, we've done 10 episodes. I mean, I was feeling so joyous about that.
I know, I know. No, it's an accomplishment, right? It's quite an accomplishment, because being regular is one of the greatest factors for success. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So, with your support, all our listeners, viewers, we can keep moving forward. So, please keep watching and share your feedback. Bye bye and have
Perfect.
a great day.
Bye bye. Thank you for watching.